Come on. Do I sound like I'm joking? Do I sound like I'm playing? When you look into my eyes, you understand what I'm saying? Let me say it to you slowly, and it may sound scandalous. I don't think that you can handle this.
I am TheMoJoKing. He is Mike Steph, formerly known as Donnie Oooh, and we are Hidden Gems Football. Today we're going to preview the NFC West. Before we start, Donnie, how's everything been? It's been a while.
Well, it would be better if you didn't say Donnie.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to do that all the time. I'm going to keep doing that.
Yeah, I know. Listen, yeah, like Mojo has said, you know, I do go by the name of my actual name, Mike Steph. You know, Donnie Oooh is no more. We did all that into the road and all that other stuff. So, but I'm doing okay. It's good to get back in the swing of things, get ready for this upcoming NFL season, and you know, give all the masses what they sorely miss and which they richly deserve, which is more of us.
Yeah, you're over there. I'm getting this point thing right. All right.
Yeah, there.
All right, let's get down to business. Mike Steph,
yes, sir.
Do you, sir, have any big topic you'd like to discuss about the NFC West?
Well, when it comes to the NFC West, there's one big glaring topic that I would be remiss if I do not make that my one big thing. And that would be the three quarterbacks that are now residing in the Bay in San Francisco. And these quarterbacks I refer to as Trey Lance, who was the incumbent starter last year until an unfortunate injury. Then we have Mr. Irrelevant from last year's NFL draft, Brock Purdy, who led the 49ers to a NFC championship game. And then we have the newcomer on the roster, someone near and dear to my heart, Mr. Sam Darnold, who has bounced around the league. Well, not really bounced around the league. He went from the Jets. He went down to Carolina. Carolina discarded him. And now he got picked up off the trap heap by the quarterback guru himself, Mike Shanahan. The 49ers, to me, should be approaching this season on a mission. On a mission of unfinished business. They lost in the NFC Championship game to the eventual NFC champions, the Philadelphia Eagles, due to one reason, and one reason only, in my humble opinion. And that is the fact that they didn't have quarterback by the end of that game. Brock Purdy injured his arm, I believe, missed like 5 minutes into the game. Then they had to brush off the dust off Josh Johnson and bring him into the game, and he promptly got injured himself and knocked out the game. So, like, the last 20 minutes or so of the game, you know who that quarterback was? You know who that quarterback was? Effectively, their quarterback was Christian McCaffrey. Because Brock Purdy did re-enter the game, but he was unable to throw the ball. Literally, he could not throw the ball. His job was just to go under center and hand it off. So that brings me to this. Out of those three quarterbacks, which one do I think gives 49ers the best chance to win? I would dare to say it would be Brock Purdy. We have a plethora of weapons at their disposal. You have Christian McCaffrey, pretty much the Swiss Army knife. We have Elijah Mitchell in the backfield, and we still have on the ends, we have Deebo Samuel. We have Brandon Ayuk. We have Mr. Kittle down the middle. They're so loaded on offense. The 49ers, even though I'm putting the carriage way before the horse. 49ers are going to be my pick to come out of the NFC West. Because at the end of the day, who's left? I don't have faith in not a team that's not from the Bay. So I guess that's my one big thing of whether or not the 49ers are going to live up to such lofty aspirations.
Just to back up a little bit, the 49ers last year were 13-4. Kyle Shanahan is, of course, their coach. Right now, covers.com has their over-under win total at 10.5. It seems pretty low to me. They were 6th in offense as far as scoring. They were 9th as for scoring against on defense. You pointed out a lot of their talent. One of their big subtractions was on the offensive line. Mike McClinchy is gone. He went to the Broncos. And they picked up a defensive tackle, Javon McGrave from Philadelphia, which is pretty cool. An addition there and a subtraction to Philadelphia. All right, so just as far as the over-under, what do you think about that 10.5?
The 10.5 to me, and this is without me looking at the schedule, 10.5 for me sounds kind of low because I believe just the division that they're going to be in. So that 10.5, yeah, I'll go over. 11-6, 12-5, that seems about right.
Right. Yeah, I mean, 11-6 seems very doable for this team. So I don't know. I think the over, and actually the bettors, when I looked at it, the bettors are already pushing the over. It's probably going to end up going up. Yeah, to me, that seems like something to jump on. All right. So now fantasy-wise, they have so many different weapons here. Outside of McCaffrey, I kind of have trouble figuring out where I'm going with it because Deebo Samuel, you would think he's their number one, but now he's not going to get as much rushes, especially if Elijah Mitchell is healthy. Why would you put him in the backfield? And then Brandon Ayuk has stepped into his own too. And then you might have a healthy George Kittle from the beginning of the season. I think that this team, outside of Christian McCaffrey, as far as fantasy goes, you're going to be pretty inconsistent. You're going to have some big games by some of these players, and then you're going to have some misses when the other players pick up the slack. I expect this team to do very well. Fantasy, I'm a little bit nervous about them, though.
Fantasy-wise, and I know one of the key things in fantasy, at least to my knowledge, is not really to allow the prior year, the prior season, to really distort what you project coming into this season, because every season is an individual season. I know last year, Brandon Ayuk was a monster when it came to fantasy, at least the times that I partaked. Kittle, to me, is more dependent on who the quarterback is, because there was a large stretch that Kittle was pretty much non-existent, and then as soon as Brock Purdy took over, you saw him start to get back into the swing of things, become that number one option. So Deebo, as I do agree with you, to me, Deebo kind of gets, and this is hard for me to say, but Deebo's kind of get lost in everything because he's not going to be the focal point. So fantasy-wise, he's not going to get rushing points and receiving points. It's like they're going to pretty much diversify the offense. And like you said, besides Christian McCaffrey, because Christian McCaffrey, he's going to get his touches, he's going to get his points. I would personally lean, if it's not McCaffrey, I kind of would lean on Ayuk, because it seems like he, especially last year, developed into a go-to option, especially if you have a competent quarterback behind center, which they have proven to have in Brock Purdy.
Yeah, I think Ayuk's on the rise. I think Deebo was a little bit banged up last year, so even that with Ayuk on the rise, I wonder if Deebo is going to kind of subtract a little bit from it. Ayuk only had 1,015 yards total, but he did have 8 touchdowns. One thing, my quick last question, I should have asked this in the beginning. Are you afraid that Mr. Purdy will turn into a pumpkin this year?
No, I believe the one thing about Shanahan that he's been proven to do is play to the strength of his quarterback, to try to minimize whatever weaknesses that they have, any glaring weaknesses. He kind of like accentuates the positives, hides the negatives. He's almost like the Paul Heyman of head coaches in that way. When they were going against a formidable defense, he really very rarely asked Purdy to win them the game. He wanted him to manage the game. And I believe he's more than capable of managing the game. So, I don't believe he's going to be a total bust.
I'm interested to find out. I think Purdy is probably going to be the starter as long as he's healthy, but I think he was Mr. Irrelevant for a reason. And I don't know if Shanahan's really going to be able to cover up that whole thing for a whole season. It'll be interesting to see, but let's move on to the next team. And that will be the Arizona Cardinals. They have a new coach. His name is Jonathan Gannon. He's former Philadelphia defensive coordinator. He replaced Cliff Kingsbury. Last year, they were 4-13. The projected win total this year is 4.5. Kyler Murray, we're not sure when he's going to return. He tore his ACL last year. They say he's on pace to return, but we don't know if that means week 1, week 4, week 8. Colt McCoy will probably start while he's gone. On running back, James Conner comes back. Wide receiver, they gave up D. Hopkins. See you later. So Marquise Brown comes back into that number 1 slot. They're going to need Rondell Moore to step up. They signed Zach Pascal. And then at tight end, Zach Ertz, also recovering from injury. Obviously, the talent getting a little bit older in age. On the offensive line, they got their first-round pick, Paris Johnson. He was the 6th overall, and he's expected to be really good. Defense might be a problem. They lost both of their defensive ends and their top cornerback. They did re-sign Budda Baker. I think not re-sign him. They gave him a little bit extra money so he would not sit out. To me, Mike Steph, it looks like this team is tanking to get the number 1 draft pick. What you say?
The Arizona Cardinals hold a place near and dear to my heart, believe it or not. On my prior iteration of my podcast, The Social Thoughts of the aforementioned Donnie Oooh, I had a segment, and I would give y'all the censored version of the segment. These suckers are trash. And do you know who the inaugural winner of that of that award was? These same Arizona Cardinals. The players change, but the sentiment stayed the same. And just like you said, are they planning to tank? That would be an emphatic yes, they are. Like you said, you have Colt McCoy, who is a competent backup quarterback. Look, he's forged himself a respectable career in the NFL. But is he Kyler Murray? No. And tell you the truth, is Kyler Murray actually Kyler Murray? What kind of Kyler Murray are we going to have when he comes off this ACL injury? He's already turned off half, or should I say, mostly half of the locker room, half of the organization. You have a new coaching staff that is not invested in him whatsoever because they did not draft him. You have a defensive coach to be on top of that. I know our friend, Mr. McDowell, has said that he's actually disgusted with the happenings over this past offseason of just the fact that they've seemed like they've gutted their talent, trying to really position themselves for the number 1 draft pick. Have a whole bunch of nondescript players. Did they really get a haul back from D-Hop? No, because they just randomly just say, all right, go, leave. We don't need anything from you. Like, these are all symptoms. These are all letting the fan base know that we are effectively punting on this season. So if they don't care about this team, why should I care about this team?
Yeah, fair enough. I will ask you one question, though. They did acquire a lot of draft picks. So they have the Texans' number 1 pick this upcoming year. And then they have 3 third-round picks. So they have a total of 11 picks coming up in 2024. If you're a Cardinals fan, are you okay with just ignoring this season and then being like, all right, we're going to pick it up next year? Can you still support this team knowing what's going to happen?
I'll say this. That all depends on how much faith you have in the decision makers of your franchise. And unfortunately, for the last couple of years, there's always been some type of controversy, some type of scandal coming out of Arizona. So if I was that fan base, no, unless they give me free tickets.
Yeah, they might need to give away some tickets this year. It's
not
going to be pretty.
I know one person that'll be in the front row, Mr. McDowell. Yay!
4.5 wins, over or under?
Under. Quick. There'll be luck. You know what? All jokes aside, 4.5 wins, I will go under because I believe they'll probably get about 3 to 4. You know, that 4.5, that 4.5 is there for a reason. I don't think they're going to like completely do the Titanic, but it's the NFL. You're going to fall into a couple wins because there are going to be some terrible teams out there.
Yeah. To me, I'm really the under seems like it should happen. I wonder what happens if Kyler Murray comes back because he's literally going to be playing for his career. If they are able to get that number 1 pick, I think he's gone. If he fights them to mediocrity, he might have a long career at Arizona. Then again, who knows? Maybe he wants to go.
I have one thing to add. If, and this is what we both believe, that they're really positioning themselves to tank, do you really think they would actually let Kyler Murray be put in a position that he can effectively mess up the tank and or get re-injured and they would not be able to get any type of value from him when they actually ship him off? Because he has a large contract. Yeah, they could cut him, but if he comes back healthy and he proves himself to be physically healthy, they can get even more additional draft picks for Kyler Murray because he is a former number 1 pick. I don't believe they will put him in that position. It will almost be reminiscent of, I believe, when RG3 might have been at the end of his tenure and they kept him out, or they made a point not to play him even though he was healthy because they didn't want to be on the hook for additional salary and they wanted to try to get some type of draft capital from him leaving.
I'm just curious how that would turn out if Kyler's like, I'm healthy, play me, But we'll see. I don't think we need to cover the Cardinals too much anymore because they're terrible.
Oh yeah, we spent way too much time on the Cardinals. Sorry, Tyler. Because come on, is it?
Are you ready to step up your style without compromising the planet? Introducing the exciting partnership between Blueview Footwear and the 19 Media Group Network. Just visit bit.ly/Blueview19 to start your sustainable style journey. Our friends over at Blueview Footwear are renowned for introducing the world's first fully biodegradable sneaker. By using plant-based plastics, they are leading a revolution in cleaner materials and manufacturing. They have sleek and contemporary styles that cater to a wide range of tastes. Blueview Footwear believes that fashion and sustainability can coexist harmoniously. Explore their incredible collection of eco-friendly footwear by visiting bit.ly/Blueview19. If you let us know you made a purchase, we'll shout you out on our next show. Again, just visit bit.ly/Blueview19 today, and you'll see the ultimate collaboration of fashion, sustainability, and media excellence.
All right, next up, we have the Los Angeles Rams. Coach is Sean McVay, 60-38 in his career as a Rams coach. They have a new offense coordinator, although I'm a little confused because Sean McVay is probably going to still make the call plays. I don't know. But you are very aware of the offensive coordinator. That's your buddy, LaFleur. Formerly.
LaFleur.
Said it French. Because that is your former Jets offensive coordinator. They had some salary cap issues, which has caused them to have a very interesting team. Very top-heavy. They still have Matthew Stafford, who at least so far looks like he might be healthy. They're going to be led in the rushing attack by Cam Akers, which is really odd because Sean McVay was trying to get rid of him most of the season. And then he had a strong couple games at the end, and now he's their lead back. And they have the return of Cooper Kupp, who had ankle surgery last year. Obviously, one of the best in the whole league. But there are a lot of question marks after that. On defense, there's one big loss, who actually is now lost for the new team, the Dolphins. Jalen Ramsey is out of here. They also lost 7 more starters, but they still have Aaron Donald, Mike Steph. This team is built really weird. Some superstars, and then youngsters that we know not much about as far as the NFL level. What do you think is going to happen with this team?
This team, matter of fact, I'm going to say this team. This season is all their chickens coming home to roost. Because remember, I mean, it's been played as a joke. I don't know if there was a meme. I think even what's called LeBron James might have referred to it of F them picks. We want the ring now. And that's why the construction of this team is so top heavy, because they amassed all the salary because they went for the small window to get the championship. And guess what? They accomplished that goal a couple years ago. They knew what was coming in on the other side. They knew, all right, if we can get one championship out of broken down Matthew Stafford, it's worth everything. That's what they did. So it doesn't really surprise me. And remember in the offseason, early in the offseason, there was some doubt on whether McVay was even going to come back. Because McVay himself knew what was on the horizon. They're not going to be that good. You know, they still have the name players, but the name players have miles on them. You know, just like you said, they were trying to get rid of Cam Akers for weeks, months. And now he's the number one. He's not the number one because they really have faith in him. It's the fact that, well, you know, we already got him on the roster. All right, might as well utilize him. Cooper Kupp, as long as he's healthy, he's going to allow your offense to have a representative showing of themselves, especially fantasy owners. You know, Matthew Stafford, if Matthew Stafford is healthy, him and Cooper Kupp can probably win them a couple games by themselves. They let go of Jalen Rams, but once again, mission accomplished. They got their ring. The Rams are going to be a middling team, you know, but it's okay for them because, once again, to harp on the point that I've been doing since I opened my mouth, they got their ring. They got their ring. That's what they cared about.
Okay, I'm glad you pointed out because last year they ended up 5-12. A lot of injuries. This year, the projected total is only 6.5. So you said middling team. Do you think they'll go over to 6.5?
If they if Stafford and Cooper Kupp remain healthy, I think they can get to about 7 or 8. So that's 6.5. I would be tempted to go over because I really don't believe they would be, because like you said, they had so many injuries last year. They had 5, and I believe they had the majority of their 5 wins probably toward the first half of the season. So they was trending maybe as like 9-10 win team, probably a 10 win team before the bottom fell out. They didn't have a quarterback the majority of the year. Remember, they had to bring Baker Mayfield on a short week to get a win. So, you know, so I think, just like I said, between McVay and health, they could go over.
They had the 27th ranked offense as far as scoring last year. You would figure that if Stafford's even remotely healthy, they should score more than that. That 6.5 looks low to me. I don't know if I would really bet it, but at least they should win 2 against Arizona. So they got that going for them. All right. Next up, last but not least, somebody else is going to have some jet roots, get you excited, but this is the Seattle Seahawks. Head coach Pete Carroll, he's been there for a while, 128, 81, and 1 as the Seahawks coach. They are led by the great Geno Smith. He just signed a new contract, 3 years, $105 million. He was 4th as far as passing yards last year, number 1 in completion percentage. Also had 30 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. As far as running backs go, Kenneth Walker III is coming off of over 1,000 yards in his rookie season. I think he was 2nd in Rookie of the Year voting. And then they drafted another running back in the second round, Zach Charbonnet, as receivers, the great DK Metcalf and the great Tyler Lockett, both of them going over 1,000 yards. Then they signed a top receiver. This offense is looking pretty good around Mr. Geno Smith. Now, the defense had some struggles last year, but they did a lot of signings there to try to shore that up. Mike Steph, what do you think of this team?
I think offensive-wise, they are going to be very formidable. As you mentioned, they have the potential to have a two-headed running back with Walker and Charbonnet. You have Geno Smith coming off a career season. Hopefully over the offseason, he's given his arm a little bit of rest because, he didn't write back. So therefore, he shouldn't have any problem with carpal tunnel. But it's their wide receiver core that I believe is going to make Seattle a pretty good favorite to go into the postseason. You have Jackson Smith and Jiba, who is their number one draft pick, wide receiver, I believe, out of the Ohio State University, to pair with the aforementioned DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. It's interesting to see this metamorphosis from Pete Carroll, because Pete Carroll, at his core, is ground and pound, defense, running game, be opportunistic in the passing game. But with the amount of firepower, I wouldn't even say potential firepower, but the amount of firepower in the top three wide receivers, and the fact that Geno Smith had proven himself to be trustworthy with only 11 interceptions to 30 touchdowns, as you said, I can truly say, I could truly feel that Pete Carroll be more open to opening up the offense to allow his defense to play from ahead. And if this defense plays from ahead, then they can actually probably be more aggressive than they were allowed to be in past seasons. They do have a young core. I wouldn't say the second iteration of the Legion of Boom, but their defensive backfield is stout. Seattle's always been one of my sneaky favorite teams, especially with the Russell Wilson days, the Marshawn Lynch days. I didn't particularly care for them last season because I just felt that they had too many jet routes that was plucking at me, but that's just a personal thing. But Seattle to me is postseason bound, and they'll probably be second, the runner up in the NFC West.
Well, it's hard to argue against anything you said, except I have one issue. Geno Smith down the stretch wasn't the hot fire guy he was at the beginning of the season. He was still okay, but he wasn't quite the same. And Seattle was 9-8. I could easily see that flipping to 8-9 and them just missing the playoffs, just off of Geno just not quite being the star he looked like last year and reverting a little bit back into what we've known him to be over the years. I think where he's going to end up is somewhere in the middle. But I brought up their record 9-8 last year. Their projected total this year, as far as covers.com says, is 9.5. I already said I think they're going to go under. Do you think they're going over or under?
That's a good question. Kind of caught me off guard, I'm not going to lie. Being the fact that the NFC as a whole is weak, and their division itself is weak, I could see them, I guess, push is not an option.
Yeah, not at 9.5.
Yeah, so just on that strength, I would go over. I could see them squeezing 10 wins, 10-7. I mean, because I have to kind of recalibrate my mind and the fact that we have an extra game, so it's 17 games. So a 10-win season is not as impressive as it used to be, even though it's only one extra game. Because 10-6, you're like, yeah, they had a solid season. 10-7. Kind of, you can get 10. If you're a good team, you get 10 wins. If you're a good team, you get 10 losses. So I just think it's a combination of the weak NFC as a whole in their division. I can see them going over. So yeah, put me on the marker for 10. Tell me when you see a lie.
I like it. We're on opposite sides. This is something we'll go back to at the end of the season. And when they've won 17 games, I will be having egg on my face. All right. That is the NFC West. I think we're going to the South next. We'll see. Anyway, as always, it's a pleasure. We appreciate you all. Donnie, you have any last words for the people?
Yeah, this is kind of fun, kind of getting the kinks out, so sorry we went away for so long, but guess what? We're back! We outside! So yeah, we'll see you next episode when we venture down south.
This is a 19 Media Group presentation.
Damn, we rusty. A lot of people probably look at me like, why does it say Donnie Oooh up there and it says Mike Steph down here? Because we're hidden gems. That's the hidden gem. Do you know where that name is from? And why did I just point that out on camera? With LaFleur, I was going to go back to the old Fat Five. LaFleur, Escorska. Oh, we recording. We live. So yeah, the energy is going up.
I don't think that you can handle this.